Tonight, an almost $15 million federal grant looks to bring broadband services to 2,000 homes across the North Country. Plus, landlords in Watertown get a chance to speak with City Council, letting them know what they think needs to be done differently. But first, a petition error may keep the mayor of Sackett's Harbor off the ballot for re-election. We speak with him to find out what he's doing to get back on the ballot. Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Zach Grady. Sackett's Harbor Mayor Alex Morgia looks to remain in office for another term. His name, however, was recently taken off the ballot after an error was found on his petitions. Morgia now taking legal action to get back on the ballot. 7 News reporter Lexi Bruning has the latest.
Sackett's Harbor Mayor Alex Morgia is hoping for another term, but an error on his petitions has scratched him off the ballot for the upcoming election.
Unfortunately, there's a small line in the very bottom of the witness statement where you have to put the number, and my witnesses didn't see it, and I didn't see the forms before they turned them in.
Morgia claims it's an attempt by his opponent to hamstring his re-election campaign.
I got a notification that they were pulled and objected to by Shannon Burke, who's on the Jefferson County Democrats. She chairs the Democrat caucus in town and had campaigned with Mark Basilio in the past. I really didn't expect them to try and push me off the ballot.
Basilio is running against Morgia as a Democrat. Prior to the petitions being pulled, Morgia says with 44 signatures out of the 32 needed, he had been accepted by the Board of Elections. Now he's filing a lawsuit against the Board of Elections and Burke to get his name back on the ballot. The suit claims the objections were filed incorrectly. There are 2 steps to filing objections. Morgia says the initial objection was filed against his mother, not him. His mother had circulated petitions. The second step, specifications of objections, was filed against Morgia.
He believes that since they did not file the objections correctly, that they should be invalidated and I should be put back on the ballot.
Board of Elections officials say they cannot comment on pending litigation, but according to this paperwork, both commissioners voted to invalidate the signatures. As for Morgia's opponent, Mark Basilio says he has no comment because he's not involved and is focused on his run for mayor. Burke has no comment. Morgia says if his lawsuit is unsuccessful and he isn't able to get his name back onto the ballot, he'll continue to run as a write-in candidate. Lexi Bruning, 7 News.
Early voting begins Saturday for the primary election. Jefferson County residents can vote early on the second floor of the county office building on Arsenal Street in Watertown. Early voting runs from tomorrow, June 17th, through the following Sunday, June 15th. Primary day is on Tuesday, June 27th. Anyone wanting to vote in the upcoming primary but is not yet registered to vote, tomorrow, June 17th, is the deadline for registration to be able to do so.
We've said this a million times, but your voice is your vote, right? And we're expecting low turnout in a lot of these elections, and one vote will make a tremendous difference. So take the time, get to know the candidates, and cast your ballot.
Early voting in Lewis County is being held at the Board of Elections office in Lowville. In St. Lawrence County, ballots can be cast in 2 locations, the Clarkson Building in Potsdam and the Dubitsky Center in Ogdensburg. A landlord listening session. Property owners in Watertown had a chance to speak their mind to the City Council about the issues they face as landlords. Property damage, drug use, and dealing with squatters were some of the topics brought up Friday by those in attendance. Council members listened as several property owners detailed personal experience that they've encountered. The session was scheduled after several area landlords over the previous months have attended Watertown City Council meetings seeking assistance.
I think to myself, this has gone beyond, this is insane, that I have to feel like I have to essentially go break the law to get somebody out who's not just destroying the property, but is unsafe for other tenants.
When dealing with local law enforcement, I will get a different answer depending on who shows up. Completely, it's totally subjective.
Along with council members and property owners, members of both law enforcement and local lawmakers were encouraged to attend the hour-and-a-half event. Lawmakers look to bridge the North Country's digital divide. A multi-million-dollar federal grant aims to shore up the North Country's broadband infrastructure. 7 News reporter Chad Charrette with the details.
It's a $24 million undertaking, improving North Country internet access, and with help from one of the largest grants the Development Authority of the North Country has ever seen, work is about to be underway.
We're ecstatic about the news today. It's a great win for the North Country.
Announced by U.S. Senators Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, the more than $14.5 million grant from the National Telecommunications and Information Administration will help DENC expand broadband fiber across nearly 350 miles of rural North Country areas. That'll bring internet access to roughly 2,400 homes.
Their children will be able to attend school remotely. They'll be able to participate in telemedicine. They'll be able to work remotely like other folks in more populated areas.
The grant will cover 60% of the total $24 million cost. The rest?
National Grid is actually providing approximately 40% of the funding for this project.
Even after this project is complete, DENC says its work will be far from finished.
What I tell folks is solving the digital divide in the North Country. It truly is, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This is one step moving us forward.
Right now, DENC estimates the project will take 3 years to complete, but says it could wrap up within 2 if things go well. Chad Charette, 7 News.
A pair of traffic stops Tuesday netted law enforcement 3 arrests, along with thousands of doses of fentanyl and other illegal narcotics, all part of a multi-agency drug investigation. The Metro Jefferson Drug Task Force says a vehicle driven by 21-year-old Divine Mobley of Syracuse was stopped at the Ramada Inn in Watertown. 1,352 glassine envelopes of fentanyl, 10 hydrocodone pills, and $220 in cash were seized during the stop. Mobley is charged with criminal possession of a controlled substance. In a separate traffic stop, this one on the 200 block of North Rutland Street in Watertown, police seized 951 glassine envelopes of fentanyl, around 200 grams of meth, approximately 16 grams of cocaine, a small amount of suspected psychedelic mushrooms, and about $1,200 in cash. 36-year-old Juan Benedict and 27-year-old Drew Shroy, both of Watertown, were each charged with 3 counts of criminal possession of a controlled substance. All 3 subjects were held pending their arraignment. We'll head to the Weather Center now. John Kubis is in. John, what can we expect over the weekend? Is it going to stay wet and rainy?
It appears so, Zach. It looks like overnight tonight is still a couple of rain showers showing up on the maps. Tomorrow, looking like a cloudy day with a little bit of smoke and a little bit of rain. Let's check the maps. The first weather brought to you by Doors Plus and Adams Center. Those heavier downpours from earlier today have pretty much left the region. Still a little bit of rain showing up outside right now, and the more organized in the way of rain, mainly off to our east over the Adirondacks. Upper 50s at midnight, 53 at 6, and by noon, we'll see a little bit of sunshine and temperatures near 70. So some rain tomorrow, but looking dry and warm next week. So we'll talk about that in the entire weekend too in a bit. Let's send it back to you.
Thanks, John. At least 5 people were killed, including an 11-year-old boy, when storms swept across Mississippi, Florida, and Texas. CBS News correspondent Jason Allen is in Perrytown, where nearly 200 homes were reduced to rubble.
In the Texas Panhandle, people are combing through debris after severe weather swept across the region.
What can I say? It's all gone.
A tornado 1/4 mile wide blasted through the small city of Perryton, leaving it in ruins.
We could see like the actual tornado just right there beside our house, and it didn't actually get our house, it got the house over. And yeah, we barely beat it in time.
This neighborhood came together to help each other clean up what they could.
Streets that had homes and businesses on them just a day ago are now just piles of debris. Some lots are completely vacant, everything blown off of them.
On Friday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for parts of the state. Victor Munoz rode out the tornado with his 2 brothers in their bathroom, praying his mother would make it home alive.
The tornado was going that way, and I didn't know what had happened. I was worried about my mom. I couldn't get my truck out or anything, and I'm just glad she was alive.
Officials say 3 people, including an 11-year-old boy, were killed in the area. The day after, firefighters searching through rubble for survivors found an American flag completely intact. Jason Allen, CBS News, Perryton, Texas.
Still to come tonight on 7 News, Mel's in with your North Country Sports Report.
Hey, Zach, we'll check in on the Watertown Rapids after their first 10 games of the season. That's Story in Sports.
Plus, St. Lawrence County leaders are pushing for improvements at a public boat launch on Black Lake. And a taste of Kentucky right here in the North Country.
From the North Country's news station, you're watching 7 News Tonight with Garrett Dumbluski. Tonight's weather with John Kubis. And your North Country sports with Mel Busler.
Your evening winning lotto numbers for Friday, the daily 494 and the win for 2719. A better boat launch. St. Lawrence County leaders are pushing for improvements at a public launch on Black Lake. Lawmakers tell 7 News reporter Sean Brinda for a lake that big, the launch just doesn't cut it.
Black Lake, covering the towns of Hammond, Morristown, Rossi, Macomb, DePoyster, and Oswegatchie, only has 2 publicly accessible boat launches, one on each side of the lake, which has about 64 miles of shoreline.
What we're doing here is trying to get some attention given to a boat launch, the only boat launch on this side of the lake that I'm aware of.
Local officials, along with State Assemblyman Scott Grady, say improvements are needed at the state-run Black Lake boat launch on the North Shore.
As you'll see, there's several deficiencies in this boat launch. You know, the most of which is probably the bulkheads. They're really inoperable, not functioning at all. Even if you could tie up to there, you would need a ladder to get out of your boat.
Gray points to the well-maintained boat launch on the St. Lawrence River in Morristown as a stark contrast to Black Lakes. Both are run by the State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historical Preservation. Leaders say the State Department of Environmental Conservation should take over operation and maintenance of the launch from Parks and Rec. Both Assemblyman Scott Gray and St. Lawrence County Legislator Joseph Lightfoot agreed that the state DEC would have a better time managing and improving upon the Black Lake boat launch. The Black Lake Association says not only does the launch need to be improved upon, but the parking lots get too crowded on weekends and holidays.
Most people take multiple people to pull their boats in and out. If you watch them, there's not enough water down here. It's not wide enough to launch more than 2 at a time. Today it's not too bad, but if you get a holiday weekend or a bass tournament on the lake, they're parked all the way up the road. It's just a bottleneck.
Gray has begun talks with both the State Parks and Rec Department and the DEC to see if a switch in operations is possible. Gray says he'd also like the state to consider adding another public boat launch. Sean Brinda, 7 News.
The 10th annual Watertown Juneteenth celebration is set for this weekend, hosted by Jefferson Community College. The federal holiday celebrates the last day when the day when the last slaves were freed in the United States, June 19th, 1865. Saturday's event at JCC runs from noon until 5 with food, music, and local vendors. This year, an emphasis is being put on historical education. Guest speaker Professor James Small will give a history lesson on African culture prior to the slave trade.
Just learning to understand history and learning to understand the African American culture and how it expressed itself and manifests itself in all aspects of American history.
The event is free for all to attend. A flag raising will be held on Juneteenth, Monday, the holiday's observance, at Watertown City Hall. A Juneteenth event is also being held in Potsdam on Sunday at Ives Park from 4 to 8 p.m. And tonight, a taste of Kentucky on Arsenal Street. The owner of Arsenal Wine and Liquor created her own blend of bourbon using a barrel from popular Kentucky distillery Maker's Mark. A tasting of the select private bourbon was held Friday afternoon. Mary Miles took a trip to Kentucky in January to work with the distillery, hand-selecting the flavor profile she wanted to include. She says working with the distillery will also help keep the shelves stocked in her Watertown store.
Bourbon is booming and it's becoming a very hard allocated bourbon, and I wanted to be the bourbon destination for our area, and being able to get barrel programs allows us to get those allocated items.
For those wondering what the bourbon tastes like, Miles says it has notes of vanilla, caramel, and gives off a Kentucky hug, meaning it has some heat to it, but finishes smooth. John Kubis is in the Weather Center with your full forecast when we return.
Now, tonight's weather.
A little bit of rain still showing up on the radar. We'll check that radar here in a moment. First off, let's check those numbers out of the airport. 60 degrees and cloudy skies. Winds from the south-southwest at about 5. Pressure is low, 2975. has been holding steady over the last hour or so. 55 the lows, 67 the highs. As far as the averages, we're off a bit on the average low end of things and well below the average high of 75. Records 94 to 38. All right, temperatures throughout the North Country. Mid-50s out Old Forge Way, 56 in Wanakina, 60 in Messina, 57 in Fort Drum, and also in Lowville. Same can be said across the border in Kingston. A little bit of green showing up on the maps, not a whole lot, but there you see some rain, generally speaking, east of Watertown. And it looks like over the Adirondacks, still getting some heavier downpours, not like earlier today when that rain was coming down rather hard at times. All right, as we widen the view, low pressure down to our south and east, that low producing more of a northerly wind flow, and because of that, we will be dealing with a little bit of smoke. Actually, some smoke outside in certain locales right now. Futurecast showing us later on tonight how the rain ends. Tomorrow morning, keeping it mainly cloudy, a couple of breaks in the overcast. During the day tomorrow, we'll see some scattered showers and thunderstorms passing on by. This might be a little bit underdone as far as the coverage it's showing you. Looking at some of the other weather models, they're showing a better chance for some rain tomorrow. Let's talk about the smoke. Notice around noon or so, here you see some of that, a little plume of smoke passing on by. By the afternoon and evening, things tend to clear on out, and that bodes well for a decent second half of the weekend, maybe some showers on Sunday. All right, any rain ending overnight, lows in the lower to mid-50s. Tomorrow, some showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two, highs in the upper 60s to near 70. Lewis County, showers ending, lows in the lower 50s tomorrow, cloudy, showers and thunderstorms during the course of the day, highs in the 60s. St. Lawrence County, lows in the 50s, any showers ending tomorrow. Showers and thunderstorms are likely. It doesn't rain all day, though. Highs for you in the 60s. Sunday, lower 70s, maybe a shower or two. And then look at Monday. Mainly sunny, highs around 77. 80s and 50s Tuesday through Friday with a whole lot of sunshine and an easterly wind. I don't think we'll have to deal with any smoke, at least next week. That's all I have for now. Have a great weekend. Coming up next, Mel has sports. Stay tuned.
Now your North Country Sports.
Time for your Toyota Sports Report. The Watertown Rapids are home both Saturday and Sunday at the Alex Duffy Fairgrounds. Rob Crone checks in on the local Collegiate League baseball team.
The Rapids entered action Friday with a 3-7 record, losers of 3 straight, and in last place in the PGCBL East Division. Despite the record, Rapids manager Mike Kogut says he's pleased with the effort of his club through the first 10 games of the season.
Yeah, you know that we've got the first week of the season in the books now. The guys are getting a little comfortable here in Watertown, getting to know each other. And we had some successes on the ball field, and we also had, some rough games, definitely some defensive issues, and we're here trying to work on it.
As Kogut said, the Rapids have struggled in the field so far in 2023, committing 18 errors in the first 10 games. With the team having 4 straight days off due to the weather, Kogut says he hopes the extended break will help his club get back on track.
It's tough to win, especially in a good league like this, if you're giving teams 4 or 5 outs an inning. So the weather is kind of giving us some time off to rest up, get healthy, and we're going to get some work in today on some ground balls and fly balls, and just keep having the guys get comfortable and work hard.
With the rainouts, the Rapids now have doubleheaders building up on their schedule, which is beginning to play havoc with the Watertown pitching rotation.
It puts stress on your pitching. They get some rest now, but on the back end, we're definitely going to be looking for guys to kind of extend out a little bit to get us through these doubleheader weeks.
With all the ups and downs the first 10 games of the season, Kogut says the one thing that has impressed him the most with his team is the way they bounce back from adversity and come ready to play each and every day.
Just their attitudes and their work ethics. Guys are here working night in, night out. We had some guys drive down to Lowville and use the indoor facility at double play yesterday during the rain. Anytime we have something going on, they're here early, fresh, and ready to work.
The Rapids are back home tomorrow hosting the Amsterdam Mohawks with first pitch set for 6 o'clock at Toyota Field. Rob Crone, 7 News Sports.
Tonight's Watertown Rapids scoreboard brought to you by Shorty's Place, located on Coffeen Street in Watertown. Home-style dining 7 days a week featuring breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Daily specials, locally owned and operated. Say hi to Michael John for me, won't you? For great food, it's Shorty's Place. Collegiate League Baseball doubleheader. Game 1, Watertown defeats the Blue Sox in Utica 8-6. The second game postponed because of rain. It was a great night on area ranges of the Northern Tier Trap League. Here's trap scores, individual results, courtesy of Herringer's Contracting. The roof people who call you back. A live person says hello. You say hello. 315-782-9129. All the scores compiled by the temptress of Trap, the lovely Gina Worth. Checking team results from last night. Carthage over Brownville. Lyme defeated Beaver River. Henderson outlasted Harrisville. Sackett's Harbor beat Gouverneur. Snow Fun of Evans Mills over Lowville. Adams Center nipped Glen Gregg. 15 shooters were perfect last night. Cale Fichette, Ryan Reed, Zach Zaire. Also Robert Moore and John Farney. Hey, how about Frank Keene, Ted Fernstein, Bruce Hicks, Nate Netto, and Ashley Mattice. Rounding out the list, Daniel Parker, Bob Green, Earl Blackwell, Bill Rohr, and Ryan Seguin. 3 shooters have been perfect for 2 straight weeks. Robert Fredericks, Pat Putman, and Paul Capolino. 1 shooter has been perfect for 3 straight weeks. Nicole Daniels. U.S. Open stretched out to the max at Los Angeles Country Club. That only slowed the scoring slightly. Wyndham Clark had a good start for 67, set the early target. Rory McIlroy had a great finish, 1 shot behind. Dustin Johnson overcame an 8 on 1 hole. Everyone expected the North Course to be a little harder after Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele each opened at 62. They played in the afternoon. The sun was coming out. The wind was starting to blow. McIlroy believes the weekend could deliver the U.S. Open fans expect. Ricky Fowler leads at 10 under, followed by Wyndham Clark at 9 under. Xander Schauffele and Rory McIlroy are tied at 8 under par. Justin Turner had a grand slam, a 2-run home run, and a double. Masataka Yoshida drove in 3 runs. Boston Red Sox powered past the New York Yankees 15-5. Turner tied his career high with 6 RBIs and scored 3 runs. Boston earned its 3rd victory in 4 meetings this season with its rival. Yoshida had 4 hits. Boston's 15 runs, 17 hits marked season highs. Tanner Houck allowed 1 run on 4 hits with 2 strikeouts and a walk before leaving the game in the 5th after being struck in the face by a line drive by Kyle Higashioka. Yankee starter Domingo Germán was chased in the 3rd and charged for 7 runs on the night. Christopher Morel homered, drove in 3 runs. Chicago Cubs beat the Baltimore Orioles 10-3 on Friday for their 4th straight win. Dansby Swanson, Miguel Amaya also connected for Chicago, which broke open a close game with 6 runs in the 6th inning. Nico Horner had 2 hits, 2 RBIs. Kyle Hendricks pitched 5 effective innings for his 2nd straight victory. Chicago has won 6 of 7, and the 4-game win streak matches its season high. Baltimore had won 6 of 7, but Cole Irvin was pulled in the 5th, and the bullpen faltered in the opener of a 5-game trip. Memphis guard Ja Morant has been suspended for the first 25 games of the upcoming season for a 2nd social media video in which he flashed a gun. NBA announced the suspension on Friday. Morant will also have to adhere to certain conditions before being reinstated. That's it for now. We'll pause for the cause. Zach Grady, wrap things up.
For Mel and John, thank you for joining us tonight. This has been 7 News.